This is going to sound completely crazy, maybe even unimaginable, but just wait. Because when I was 18, I learned my entire life was built on a secret. My mom, my best friend, the one I thought shared everything with me, she had another daughter, my sister. And she never, not once, ever spoke about it to me. It was always mom and me as a kid, and then dad, of course. We were a tight-knit family, the three of us. My parents were high school sweethearts, the kind of couple that still held hands at the grocery store, still stole kisses in the kitchen when they didn't think I was looking. Our home was a sanctuary, full of laughter, the smell of mom's cooking, and movie nights galore. I was an only child, and I really enjoyed it. I had my parents' undivided attention, their unconditional support. My mother, especially, was my rock. We talked about everything: boys, school, my dreams of becoming a photographer. She was the first one I called with good news, the shoulder I cried on when I'd had a bad day. I thought I knew her, really knew her, inside and out. I knew about her unusual habit of listening to true crime podcasts, her ability to make the world's best lasagna, her fear of airplanes. I knew her history, or at least I thought I did, her own childhood stories, how she and my dad met, their early struggles. Our family history was a neat, tightly closed box, tied with a pretty bow. Then my 18th birthday came. I was on top of the world, college-bound, adulthood-bound. We just had this big party, all my friends and relatives around, toasts and laughter. I had felt so loved, so safe. 2 weeks later, my mom made me sit down. Her voice was too quiet, too serious, and her hands were shaking as she held her coffee cup. My stomach fell. I immediately thought of Dad, accident, illness. But it wasn't Dad. It was something else, something I could not even begin to imagine. She led me over to the couch, clutching a tissue. "Sweetie," she started, her voice barely above a whisper, "I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you a long time ago." My heart was pounding, a frantic drumbeat against my ribs. "Your father. He has another daughter." The words kind of hung in the air, heavy and absurd. "What?" I finally got out, my voice thin, weak. "What are you saying?" She explained that prior to meeting her, when he was in his early 20s, he'd had a brief relationship and a child was born. A girl. My stepsister. My mind reeled. A stepsister? My dad? I pictured our tidy family photo album, the one mom meticulously assembled every year. There wasn't room in that narrative for another child. It was as though a page had been ripped from the book of my life. Mom told me that she'd only recently reconnected with this woman, this stepsister's mother, through a chance encounter on the internet. The woman had always hoped her daughter would get to know her actual father, and now that her daughter was nearing 20, she figured it was time. My mom, bless her heart, explained that she was trying to be understanding, trying to navigate this new, unexpected territory for all of us. It was a lot to take in. My dad, silent and uncomfortable, just nodded beside her, looking utterly miserable. He confirmed it, of course, his face pale. He said it was a mistake, a sorry incident from his youth that he'd tried to leave in the past, and he swore he did not know she was trying to contact him now. It was so tawdry, so unlike our otherwise serene family. I was an odd mix of angry with my dad, confused at my mom for keeping such a monumental secret, and a morbid, uneasy curiosity for this stranger who was now family. Her name was Chloe, 2 years older than me, which felt like a chasm when you're 18. The first meeting was a disaster of forced smiles and awkward silences at a neighborhood coffee shop. My mom fluttered around, trying to make conversation, and my dad looked like he wanted the earth to swallow him up. Chloe was stunning, with piercing green eyes and a mess of auburn hair, a color so similar to my own that it made me feel a strange pang of recognition and something else. Something I couldn't quite identify. She was reserved, almost shy, which I liked privately. I did not require a loud, bubbly stranger bursting into my life. Chloe and I started building a cautious bridge over the next several months. We'd grab coffee, allegedly to talk family business, but actually to avoid it. We connected over the most mundane things, a shared love of trashy reality TV, a precise hatred of cilantro, a strange capacity to recite obscure 90s movie lines. She talked about her life while she was growing up, her divorced mother, her own struggles with school. I talked about my dream, almost perfect childhood. The contrast was striking, but instead of creating a rift, it seemed to draw us in. I started thinking about her not as Dad's secret daughter, but as Chloe. She had this dry sense of humor that made me laugh until my sides hurt, and this spooky ability to read what I was thinking at a glance. When my first college essay deadline loomed, she stayed up with me until 3 a.m., editing and offering encouragement. When I had a fight with my best friend, she was the first one I called, offering wisdom that belied her age. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, she began to take up a space in my life I did not know was empty. The step in stepsister began to fade, replaced by a real and undeniable sisterhood. My mom seemed really happy about our growing bond. She'd light up when Chloe came over, bake her favorite cookies, and offer advice. But sometimes there was this quiver in her eyes. Nervousness. Whenever Chloe would bring up her childhood, my mom would quickly steer the subject elsewhere or interrupt with a slightly too loud comment on the weather. Chloe herself was sometimes cagey about her younger years. She'd mention moving around a lot as a kid, never staying in one spot. Her voice would hesitate when she'd mention her birth mother, and there would be a stiffness in her shoulders that I'd notice every now and then. I brushed it off. Childhoods are messy, aren't they? Especially when you're not being raised by both of your biological parents. It just felt like there were pieces of Chloe's story and, in fact, pieces of my family's story that didn't quite fit together. Like a puzzle missing a few crucial corner pieces. The summer before I went away to college, Chloe and I decided to spend a weekend at a cabin upstate, just the two of us. It was going to be a bonding trip, a farewell before I flew the nest. We were giggling, sharing secrets, doing our nails in front of the fireplace. At one point, she was going through some of the old photos I'd brought, silly snapshots from when I was growing up. She picked up one of my baby pictures, a photo of me as a chubby-cheeked infant, all wrapped up in a blanket in my mom's arms. "You know," she said, her voice soft, a hint of something unfathomable in her eyes, "you have the same birthmark as my mom. This little star on your ankle." I froze. A birthmark? My mom didn't have a star-shaped birthmark on her ankle. I did. A faint, hardly noticeable, star-shaped mark on my left ankle that only I really knew about. My mom always teased about it, saying I was a little star. "What are you talking about, Chloe?" I asked, my voice suddenly tense, a cold fear creeping into my belly. "My mom doesn't have a birthmark like that." She looked at me confused. "Yes, she does. My mom, Sarah, she has the exact same one. Right here." She pointed to her own ankle, the exact same place where mine was. It hit me like a blow. Sarah, Chloe's actual mother. The woman my mom said Dad had a child with. The woman my mom supposedly reconnected with. My mom's name was Sarah too. Sarah Miller. Chloe's mom's name was Sarah Peterson. I had a shiver run down my spine. The same birthmark. The same first name. The same auburn hair that I shared with Chloe. The same green eyes. And all those little hesitations, the sudden topic changes, the evasive answers from Chloe about her life as a child. It was all unraveling. I remember my hands shaking as I searched for my phone, opening Google. I typed in Sarah Peterson, adoption records, births. It was a stab in the dark, a desperate reach for clarity, but the feeling in the pit of my stomach told me I was on the right track. And then I found it. A digitized document from a local hospital, 2 years before I was born. A birth announcement. Baby girl Peterson, born to Sarah Miller. Adopted by the Peterson family shortly afterward. My blood went cold. Sarah Miller. My mother. The world reeled. My stepsister was not my stepsister after all. She was my half-sister. My mother's daughter. A daughter she'd had before she met my father, a daughter she'd given up, then lied about for 18 years. She hadn't just kept a secret, she'd constructed an entirely different one to conceal it, and in the process, implicated my father in her fiction. The stepsister's story was a tactical lie a guard. I had a scream building in my throat, but was unable to make a sound. Chloe was looking at the phone, then at me, her face draining of all color as she understood what she was seeing. The realization dawned on her too. Truth. There in that cabin, under the soft glow of the fireplace, was a wildfire raging. The car ride home was silent, heavy, thick with unshed tears. When we walked in the door, my mom was in the kitchen, humming, oblivious. The moment she looked at our faces, her smile died. My voice was a raspy whisper, barely audible, but it was full of a rage I did not know I possessed. "Who is Chloe, Mom?" "Really?" The carefully constructed facade crumbled. My mother's face fell apart. She started to cry, a rough, ripped sound that shredded me. She told me everything. How she'd gotten pregnant young, before she'd met my dad, how she'd felt too young, too afraid, too ill-equipped to be a mom. How she'd loved Chloe, even for the few days she'd held her, but had felt she'd had no choice but to give her up for a better life. How the adoption was finalized, but she never once gave up thinking about her. How she'd been looking, quietly, secretly, for years until she found Chloe's adoptive mother online. And how, when she'd worked up the courage to bring Chloe into our lives, she couldn't bear to tell me the truth, fearing my judgment, fearing losing me. She fabricated the stepsister lie, drawing my innocent father into it, making him bear the guilt for a secret that was entirely hers. I couldn't catch my breath. My mom, my hero, my confidant, had woven this complex, vicious illusion. Every memory, every conversation, every "I love you" now felt tainted. It wasn't a secret. It was a betrayal that resonated through my very existence. Was anything she told me the truth? Was I the truth? My identity was like a sandhouse, crumbling beneath my feet. The next few days were a blur of raw emotion. I yelled at my mom, words I never thought I would use, accusing her of ripping our family apart, of being a liar, a coward. She just sat, taking it all in, her face a mask of sadness and regret. My dad, caught in the middle, was appalled, furious at my mom for pulling him into it, but also heartbroken for all of us. And Chloe. Chloe was also shocked. The woman she thought was her biological mother, the woman who had given her up, stood before her, a stranger who had been impersonating a friendly stepmother. Her own identity, her own meticulously created narrative, was also in tatters. The pain was overwhelming. I secluded myself in my room for days, the vibrant hues of my life bleeding into a gray mist. I couldn't gaze at my mom without gazing at the lie. I couldn't gaze at Chloe without gazing at the years of deceit. My perfect, gorgeous family was a perfect, gorgeous mess. The collapse was long and ugly, filled with arguments, tears, and a thick, pulsing silence. But slowly, painfully, we began to rebuild. Therapy became a weekly habit, not just for my mom and me, but for Chloe too. We had to unravel generations of secrets and trauma. It wasn't easy. There were still days when I felt a burning, searing resentment toward my mom. And in the middle of it, in the midst of the raw, ugly truth, something else emerged. An understanding. My mother, in her own flawed way, was a scared young woman who made an impossible choice, then tried to repair it, though clumsily and with terrible judgment. She genuinely believed she was protecting me, protecting our family, even as her choices were tearing us apart. Her suffering, her fear, her enduring love for Chloe, even when she couldn't be a mother to her, it was all true. And Chloe. My God, Chloe. She could have gone away. She could have hated us all. But she didn't. She remained. She suffered deeply, but she also needed to know. We were held together by this shared wound, this incredible revelation. We soothed ourselves with the presence of one another, our bond burnished in the flames of our shared reality. We were sisters, irrevocably, not due to a lie, but due to blood and due to a tangled, deep love that denied the chaos of our inception. It's been 2 years now since the cabin trip. My mom and I are still a work in progress, but we're real now. It's honest, unfiltered, and vulnerable, sans the pretense. We talk about everything now, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And Chloe? She isn't my stepsister. She's my sister. My older sister. We're closer than we've ever been before, navigating this messy, beautiful, complicated sisterhood. Our family isn't perfect, not by a long shot. It's broken in some places, stitched in others, but it's ours. And it's real. We learned that honesty, though it pains you, is the best foundation you can have. It almost destroyed us, but in the end, it made us stronger, tighter, and more ourselves than we were before this. If you've ever had something similar happen, a family secret that rocked your world, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if this story resonated with you even a little bit, don't be shy to like, subscribe, and hit that bell.